Hello students, this is Poonam teacher back with a new video of Science 2. Today we shall learn a new chapter, that is chapter 6, Animal Classification. You have already studied classification in class 8 and that classification was based on various criteria like that of complexity of cell structure, mode of nutrition, phylogenetic relationship. Now in this video we shall see the classification of living organisms, and the first classification is based on criteria of the complexity of cell structure, and that is where the living organisms are classified as prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So prokaryotes are those organisms which will not have a distinct nucleus or a true nucleus, and the cell organelles will not be well organized, and the genetic material like that of the DNA or the chromosomes are going to be loosely dispersed into the cell, while eukaryotes will have a distinct or a true nucleus. The cell organelles are going to be well organized, and that is why eukaryotes will have a little complex structure as compared to that of the prokaryotes. So prokaryotes are going to be simple primitive organisms like that of the bacteria. Then prokaryotes are further divided into the kingdom Monera. So this organisms which belongs to the kingdom Monera are strictly unicellular. These are made up of single cell. This can be autotrophic or heterotrophic. That means they are able to make their own food if these are autotrophic, or if they consist of chloroplast into their cell, or this can also be heterotrophic. That means such kind of organisms will have to depend on other organisms for food, for example bacteria. Then these are prokaryotic cells without distinct nucleus or cell organelles. As I told you that these organisms will not have a distinct nucleus or the cell organelles. So these are going to be the characteristics of kingdom Monera. And see, you can see this figure over here. This is a figure of the bacteria. So this is the organism which belongs to this kingdom Monera. Then eukaryotes are further divided as unicellular organisms or multicellular organisms. That means how prokaryotes are strictly unicellular, eukaryotes can be unicellular or multicellular. Then this unicellular eukaryotes, the kingdom can be Protista, and this organisms which belongs to kingdom Protista are unicellular, and they will have a well distinct nucleus. The genetic material is going to be enclosed into the nucleus. Then this will not have organs for locomotion, but will have hair like cilia or weep like flagella for locomotion. And flagella you can observe into Euglena. Euglena is a Protista, while Paramecium you can see over here. See, this is a cilia, hair like structure. So this organisms belongs to the kingdom Protista. So like this, the characteristic of Protista kingdom are that these are the unicellular eukaryotes with a distinct nucleus, maybe autotrophic like that of Euglena or Volvox, or can be heterotrophic like that of amoeba or Paramecium. Then multicellular organisms are further divided with the organisms with cell wall and the organisms without the cell wall. So the organisms with the cell wall will be come into the kingdom Plantae. So this kind of organisms can be autotroph, can make their own food. For example, the kingdom Plantae, while it can be heterotroph. That means such kind of organisms will belong to the kingdom Fungi, because fungi will not be able to make its own food. Then the multicellular eukaryotes without the cell wall can be the kingdom Animalia. So all the animals are going to be multicellular eukaryotes. That means this will have a distinct nucleus but will not have a cell wall, and this presence or absence of the cell wall is a distinguishing feature of a plant or an animal cell. If any cell is lacking the cell wall, that is going to be an animal cell. If any cell is having a cell wall, that is going to be a plant cell. Now let's move further. Now let's see the history of animal classification. See, Aristotle was one of the Greek philosopher, and he started classifying the animals according to the criteria like body size, habits and habitats. So right from very small organism to a very big organism, then their habits, their feeding habits, then the habitats, that means their dwelling places, the places where they live. So on all these criteria were chosen for classifying the animals by Aristotle, and his method is known as the artificial method. So other scientists also started adopting his method. They followed his artificial method of classification, like Theophrastus, Pliny, John Ray, Carolus Linnaeus. So these are all the scientists who followed artificial method of Aristotle for classification of animals. And then later on, natural system of classification was followed, and it was based on criterias like body organization. Body organization, that means every organism is made up of a single cell, then from cell the tissues are made, from tissues the organs are made, from organ the organ system, and from various organ system one organism has been formed. So this is the body organization. Then types of cells, whether these are unicellular or multicellular and so on, then the number of chromosomes, then biochemical properties, the biochemical reactions, whatever takes place into the body. On all these criteria, the natural system of classification of animals was based. And by the time, the system of classification was also based on evolution, and it was also brought into practice, and it was used by Dobzhansky and Mayer. So, and recently Carl Woese has also proposed the animal classification. So this is all the history of the classification of animals. Now, why do we require the animal classification, or what are the benefits of the classification? See, it will make the study of any animal very easy. So we can study any kind of organism very easily with the help of the classification. We can group various organisms into one if they have certain similar uh, properties or similar characteristic. Animals can be placed into one group, and will be able to understand the relationship with each other and the relationship with other organisms very easily. Then it will give us an idea about the evolution of the animal, that how that animal has been evolutionized, that how the development of that animal has taken place. So all those things will come to know with the help of the animal classification. Then animals will be easily identified and with greater accuracy. There will be no doubt, there will be no mistake in identifying the animals if we are classifying the animals into various groups properly. And it will also help to understand the relationship of one animal with other living organism. It will also help to understand their habitat, their way of living, their habits, and it will help us to, and this is how it will help us to fix the role of those kind of animals properly into the nature or into the environment. And it will also help us to understand various adaptations means the changes which are brought about by any organisms to adjust into its environment. This is known as adaptation. So we'll come to know about the adaptations about the animals, and we'll be able to understand our environment and all the animals which are living around us properly. So these are the benefits of animal classification.